All right, Blue Jays fans, we need to have a serious conversation right now. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this because the stakes are way too high. I was recently at an event absolutely packed with Toronto Blue Jays supporters. And after spending hours talking baseball with these passionate fans, one thing became incredibly, undeniably clear: everyone is pumped about the lineup. Everyone's excited about the starting rotation. But there's this one question that kept popping up like a bad penny, over and over again, and it's the question that honestly should be keeping Ross Atkins up at night. Are we actually comfortable with the bullpen? And more importantly, the question that made the entire room go quiet: are we really, truly comfortable with Jeff Hoffman closing games for us in 2026? Now, before you start typing furious comments or clicking away thinking this is just another hot take designed to get clicks, I need you to stick with me here because what I'm about to break down is backed by cold, hard statistics that are genuinely concerning. This isn't about being negative. This isn't about tearing down a player for no reason. This is about facing reality and asking the tough questions that need to be asked when you're trying to build a championship contender. So buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into the Jeff Hoffman situation. And trust me, it's way more complicated than you think. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we bring you the real talk about your Toronto Blue Jays. The analysis that goes beyond the surface level takes you get everywhere else. And if you appreciate this kind of honest, in-depth content, then do me a huge favor and smash that subscribe button right now. Your support genuinely means the world to me, and I promise we're going to keep delivering the content you deserve. Now let's get into what might be the Blue Jays' biggest question mark heading into this season. Here's the situation that we absolutely need to address head-on. If we're being realistic and objective about this Blue Jays roster, we're probably looking at some slight regression from the offense this year. Now, don't panic. I'm not saying the offense is going to fall off a cliff or anything dramatic like that, but regression to the mean is real in baseball. Guys have career years and then naturally come back down to earth the following season. It's just how the game works. And pretending otherwise is foolish. But here's the exciting part that should have every Blue Jays fan fired up. The starting rotation is going to be significantly, legitimately better than it was last year. We're talking about real, tangible improvement in the pitching staff. The Blue Jays have made smart additions. Key players are healthy, and there's genuine reason to believe this group of starters is going to keep Toronto in way more games than they did previously. That's huge. That's the foundation you need to build a winning team. So when you combine those two factors, slightly less offensive firepower but much better starting pitching, what does that tell us? It screams one thing loud and clear. The Blue Jays are going to be playing a ton of close games this season. We're talking about games that come down to one run, contests decided in the final innings, nail-biters where every single pitch in the ninth inning could determine whether you're celebrating a win or absorbing a devastating loss. And if that's the reality Toronto is facing, if they're going to be in these pressure-packed situations night after night, then the ninth inning becomes absolutely critical. It becomes everything. That brings us directly to Jeff Hoffman, the man currently positioned to be Toronto's closer heading into the season. And I want to be crystal clear about something right from the jump. This is not a hit job on Jeff Hoffman. I'm not here to unnecessarily trash a player or pile on for the sake of getting reactions. I actually think Hoffman has real talent and real ability, but we absolutely need to have an honest, objective conversation about whether he's truly the right guy for this incredibly important role. Because when you're trying to win a championship, when you're competing in the brutal American League East, you cannot afford to be wrong about your closer. Let's start with the positives. Because there are definitely legitimate positives when it comes to Jeff Hoffman. And honestly, when he's locked in and dealing, when everything is clicking for him, he genuinely looks like one of the best closers in all of baseball. I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm stating facts. There were stretches last season where watching Jeff Hoffman pitch was genuinely impressive, where you felt completely confident every time he jogged in from the bullpen. Let me hit you with some specific numbers that illustrate just how dominant Hoffman can be when he's rolling. In March and April of last year, Hoffman threw 15.1 innings with an earned run average of 1.17. That's elite top-tier production right there. That's the kind of performance that championship teams get from their closers. Then, in June, he threw 10 innings and posted an ERA of 1.8. Still fantastic, still exactly what you want, but it gets even better, folks. In September, Right when the playoff races are heating up and every single game takes on massive importance, Hoffman threw 10.2 innings with an ERA of 0.84. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's video game numbers. And then, when the lights were brightest and the pressure was most intense, during the actual playoff run, Hoffman threw 12.1 innings with a 1.46 ERA. The man showed up when it mattered most. Now, everyone who followed the playoffs remembers Miguel Rojas hitting that crushing home run in Game 7 of the World Series. That moment is burned into our collective baseball memory. But here's what people sometimes conveniently forget in the aftermath of that one devastating pitch. Up until that exact moment, Hoffman had been absolutely solid throughout the entire postseason. He'd been getting outs, keeping his team in games, doing exactly what a closer is supposed to do. So when you look at those incredible stretches, when you see Hoffman at his absolute peak, you completely understand why the Blue Jays have faith in him. You get why they believe he can handle the closing role. There were genuine extended periods last season where Jeff Hoffman looked like the best closer in all of baseball. Not just good, not just serviceable, but legitimately the best. But here's where things get really uncomfortable. And this is the part that should genuinely worry every single Blue Jays fan. Despite all of those elite stretches I just detailed, despite those extended runs where he looked completely unhittable, Hoffman still finished the entire year with a 0.5 WAR and a 4.37 ERA. Let that absolutely sink in for a moment. A 4.37 ERA for your closer is not good. It's actually pretty alarming. And a 0.5 WAR means he was barely providing any value above what a replacement level player would give you. So how does that happen? How does someone who had multiple stretches of absolute dominance end up with overall numbers that are frankly pretty concerning? The answer is as simple as it is troubling. When things went bad for Jeff Hoffman, they went catastrophically, devastatingly bad. We're not talking about slightly elevated eras or a few extra walks. We're talking about complete and total meltdowns that were honestly painful to witness. Let me paint this picture for you, with some numbers that are going to make you extremely uncomfortable. In May of last year, Jeff Hoffman was practically unplayable. That's not me being dramatic or exaggerating for effect. That's just the stone-cold reality. He had a 13.5 ERA in 10 innings. 13.5. For a closer, that's an absolute catastrophe. That means nearly every single time he entered a game, disaster was not just possible, but probable. Games were lost, leads evaporated, and confidence in Hoffman started crumbling. Then in July, Hoffman posted a 4.5 ERA in 10 innings. Now, compared to that May disaster, a 4.5 ERA almost seems reasonable by comparison. But it's still absolutely not what you need from the guy who's supposed to be your shutdown ninth-inning weapon. And then in August, right when teams should be peaking and building momentum for playoff pushes, Hoffman had a 6 ERA in 12 innings. 6 runs per 9 innings for your closer is essentially baseball suicide, so we've got this wild, almost unbelievable paradox with Jeff Hoffman. On one hand, we have a pitcher who can look completely unhittable for extended periods, posting sub-2 eras and making elite hitters look completely overmatched. But on the other hand, we have a pitcher who can completely implode and become a massive liability, someone you genuinely dread seeing enter high-leverage situations. There's no middle ground whatsoever. There's no consistency you can rely on. He's either the hero saving games or the goat blowing them, and you legitimately have no idea which version is showing up on any given night. This naturally begs the obvious question: what in the world is causing this? How does someone swing so dramatically between being dominant and being terrible? What's the root cause of this Jekyll and Hyde performance that makes Hoffman so maddeningly unpredictable? Well, when you dig into the advanced metrics and really analyze what was happening with Hoffman throughout the season, the answer becomes shockingly clear. It all comes down to one thing: the home run ball. When we examine Hoffman's sabermetrics, the numbers are genuinely startling. He was in the bottom 1 percentile in barrel rate. Let me emphasize that again for the people in the back. Bottom 1 percentile. That means he was giving up more barrels on average than 99% of all pitchers in Major League Baseball. For anyone unfamiliar with the terminology, barrel rate measures how often a pitcher allows batters to make optimal contact. It's a kind of contact that typically results in extra base hits and home runs. Being in the bottom 1 percentile is catastrophically bad, and the devastating consequences of that horrific barrel rate show up crystal clear in his home run numbers. When it comes to home runs per 9 innings, Hoffman was the third worst pitcher in all of baseball. Third worst. He was surrendering an average of 1.99 home runs every 9 innings pitched. Think about what that means for a closer who typically only pitches 1 inning at a time. It means that roughly every 4th or 5th appearance, he's probably giving up a home run. And for a closer, that's absolutely devastating because 1 home run in the 9th inning is literally the difference between winning and losing the game. This kind of profile, this alarming tendency to give up hard contact and home runs, creates an extremely volatile pitcher. It explains perfectly why there was zero middle ground in Hoffman's performance throughout the season. When hitters weren't squaring him up perfectly, when they were just missing optimal contact, he looked completely But when they did make solid contact, which happened far too frequently, the ball was flying out of the ballpark and games were being lost. There's no mystery here, folks. The numbers tell us exactly what the fundamental problem is. So now we arrive at the most critical question facing the Toronto Blue Jays as they prepare for 2020. What should they actually do about this incredibly concerning situation? Are we genuinely comfortable rolling into the season with Jeff Hoffman as our closer? Knowing everything we now know about his volatility and his troubling tendency to give up home runs at the absolute worst possible times. Personally, and I'm going to be completely transparent with all of you, I'm at what I would describe as a solid meh comfort level with Hoffman as the closer. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement, is it? I don't hate the idea with every fiber of my being, but I'm certainly not thrilled about it either. I'm stuck in that uncomfortable middle ground where I can genuinely see both sides of the argument. Here's my reasoning. I don't think having Hoffman as the closer during the regular season is going to completely destroy the Blue Jays' chances of making the playoffs. The regular season is 162 games, and over that massive sample size, the brilliant stretches and the disastrous stretches tend to balance out somewhat. Plus, Hoffman is legitimately capable of excellence. We've witnessed it firsthand. During those hot streaks, he's as good as any closer in the game. However, and this is where I get genuinely nervous, thinking about Jeff Hoffman in a postseason environment is an entirely different conversation. In the playoffs, everything changes dramatically. The margin for error evaporates completely. 1 home run could literally be the difference between your season continuing or your season ending right there. 1 bad pitch, 1 critical mistake. And suddenly you're watching the opposing team celebrate while packing up for the winter. The good news, and this is actually encouraging, is that after the season concluded, the Blue Jays organization left the door at least somewhat. It's open for somebody else to potentially take over the closing role as time progresses and circumstances change. They didn't definitively anoint Hoffman as the unquestioned closer for the entire season, which shows smart, flexible thinking from the front office. And here's something I genuinely believe could be a game changer. Without doing a complete deep dive right now, I personally think that Luis Frias would make for an exceptional closer if Hoffman continues running into this home run problem. Frias has a genuinely great pitch mix, exceptional velocity that plays up in high leverage situations. He's on this team long term, which makes investing in his development worthwhile. And once he got established in Toronto last season, the guy was absolutely cooking. He looked dominant, confident, and ready for bigger moments. Ultimately, though, it's completely fair and reasonable to wonder whether Jeff Hoffman really should be the guy moving forward for Toronto. The track record raises legitimate red flags. The advanced metrics scream warning signs. And here's the uncomfortable truth that we all need to accept. At this point, we kind of just need to wait and see what happens. As frustrating as that is, as much as we want definitive answers right now, the reality is we won't truly know how this plays out until we see meaningful games being played. The Jeff Hoffman closer situation is going to be one of the most fascinating and important storylines to monitor as the Blue Jays head into the season. It might not generate the same headlines as Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s contract situation, but it could ultimately prove more important when determining whether this team can actually win a championship. Every championship team needs lockdown relief pitching, and if Hoffman can't provide that consistency, the Blue Jays need to have a backup plan ready to execute. So here's what I want from all of you incredible supporters watching this video. Drop a comment below and let me know where you stand on the Jeff Hoffman debate. Are you confident in him as the closer? Do you think Luis Frias should get a shot? What would you do if you were running the team? I genuinely want to hear your thoughts because this conversation matters, and your perspective matters. And if you made it this far in the video, you're clearly a passionate Blue Jays fan who cares deeply about this team, and I absolutely love that about you. Do me a massive favor and smash that like button if you found this analysis valuable. Hit subscribe if you haven't already because we're going to be covering every development, every decision, and every game that matters for your Toronto Blue Jays. Turn on those notifications so you never miss when we drop new content breaking down the latest news. The Blue Jays are at a critical juncture, folks. The decisions they make about the closer role and the bullpen construction could legitimately make or break their entire season. Let's watch this unfold together. Let's debate it passionately. And let's hope that when October rolls around, Toronto has the shutdown ninth inning weapon they desperately need. I'll catch you in the next video, but until then, let's go Blue